WVTC Radio Detroit. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, X, and our website, www.wvtcdetroit.com, or download our WVTC app from the Play Store for Android users and the App Store for iPhone users. Thank you for tuning to WVTC Radio Detroit and the Community Bell Show with your host, former Wayne County Commissioner, Edna Bell. Stay tuned for insightful information Detroiters will find valuable. Text a friend and tell them to watch with you for news you can use. And now, your host, Edna Bell.
Hello. It's Monday afternoon at 4 o'clock, so it must be the Community Bell Show. Thank you so much for joining us on this lovely sunny day in Michigan. We love it. It could last like this for me until spring, and it would be all right. I know there are those of you who don't want that to happen, but that's okay. We'll give you a couple of days in the 50s or maybe a couple of days in the 40s, but this works for me until we get up into maybe March, April, and then we can go up to the 70s and 80s. That'll be a wonderful thing. But okay, I'll let you go on that. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, it's a pleasure to have you join us on the Stellar Award-winning WVTC Radio Detroit Stellar Award, 2 of the last 3 years. nominated all 3 years, came in number 2 this past year, but that's okay. We are still the Stellar Award winning WVTC Radio Detroit. As you know, what next Tuesday is, and I've been telling you this for the longest. Next Tuesday, Election Day. So, for those of you who have not voted yet, you get a chance to vote on Tuesday, the 5th of November. And if you can't vote on Tuesday, you get from now until next Monday to vote. You can vote early. So you can't say, oh, I had to work. Oh, I had to go to the grocery store. I had all these things to do. It's okay. Go today and vote. Go tomorrow and vote. You can vote early. There are all sorts of places you can vote early. So you have no excuses not to vote. None. Hear me? None. And if you think you haven't voted or can't vote because you're not registered, no excuse. You can register when you get there. You can register today, tomorrow. You can register on Election Day. All you have to have is proof of who you are and where you live. So if you got a piece of mail that was sent to you, use it. Or just bring your driver's license. You can do that, or your state ID, your student ID, whatever you have that says where you live and your name, you can vote. So no excuses, no excuses. Get yourself to the polls. This is so important. I know we say this every year. This is the most important election of your life. This one really, really is. I'm telling you. There's some folks out there who want to lead you who are absolutely out of their ever-loving minds. Believe me, they are out of their minds. Anytime somebody comes into your city and expects you to support them and calls your city something other than what it is, clearly that person is out of their mind, right? Clearly out of their minds. So that's why I have on my Detroit Snob shirt there. Can you see it? There it is. Detroit Snob, because I am a Detroit Snob. Yes, I support this city. And I want those of you who don't actually physically live in Detroit, they're talking about you too. Because see, I travel the world. And when people ask me where I'm from, I don't say Farmington Hills, Southfield, Novi, Northfield, Grosse Pointe, Macomb County, Warren, Eastgate, Southgate. All they know is Detroit. And then I say Detroit, they know just what I'm talking about. So when they say Detroit is no good, they're talking about all of you. Understand that. They're not talking about just the physical Detroit. They're talking about all of you. So be terribly, pissed off. So sorry about that. But just be very upset that you've got people who come into your city and talk about. That's like somebody visiting your house and then telling you your house is the worst place they've ever been. What's wrong with that picture? What is wrong with that picture? And what's wrong with those people who accept that? I'm talking about you if you accepted it. What's wrong with those people who accept that? So all I'm saying is understand who you're voting for. Go read Project 2025. Go read about the people that you are voting for. Both of them. Read about both of them and see which one is more like you and see which one that you would want your children to respect. And I'm going to say something one of our guests said a couple of weeks ago. He said, who do you want to leave your baby with? You want to leave it with him or her? Which one would you want to leave your baby with? Him or her? Now, which one would you want to do that with? Him or her? Now, if you choose the wrong one, your baby's in trouble. I want you to know that. Do understand that. So just think about that. So go vote. Make sure you have a plan to vote. Call everybody you know. And don't assume just because you know this person that they're going to vote. You're making a wrong assumption. Call them and say, go vote. Make sure they've got a plan. If they need a ride, there's all sorts of places that will be giving rides, churches and community organizations and unions and party organizations. You can get there. That is not an issue. Make sure you go vote. If you are a returning citizen, you can vote. Remember that just because you made a mistake, you're out now. You can vote. You have responsibility just like everybody else to go to the polls and vote. So if you are on parole, if you're a returning citizen, if you committed a crime, if they're calling you a felon, whatever that is, and you are out, you can vote. So I'm going to get off my bandwagon right now. You can vote. You'll hear me again next Monday saying the same. I'm really going to be talking about it next Monday because next day will be election day. So just know that you can vote. So now I'll get to our special guests after I've talked to you all about voting. We've got a special guest who really wants you to vote. They really, really want you to vote because this person is on the ballot. So she wants you to vote. Let me introduce you to Monique Bryant. Monique Bryant, welcome to the Community Bell Show.
Thank you.
Monique has been around for a long time. So she isn't just a newcomer. You know, you've got a lot of people on the ballot who just popped up and said, oh, I think I'll run for school board. Don't have a clue what it means to be a school board member. Don't understand anything about the education system. Don't have a clue of where schools are in Detroit or how many schools are in Detroit and what those schools do, what the curriculums are, what the parents are thinking about, what the teachers and the administrators do. They don't have a clue. Monique is not one of those. She is the one who has been around the block several times in terms of what goes on in schools. She and her partner established something called the Triangle Foundation. And I'm going to let her talk about the Triangle Foundation first. Talk about Triangle Foundation, Monique.
Well, the Triangle, it started with just simply showing up at a meeting. And out of it, we discovered our alma mater, which is Cass Tech, was in need of some things. And we looked at one another and we said, well, let's co-found a organization. And this is our 9th year. We have been able to raise over $300,000 with community sponsors and organizations. We've purchased instruments, just so many things. But on my right here, and Mrs. Bill, you can remember when we spoke with you about the golf team, the girls' golf team,
Yes.
wanting to be reestablished at Cass Tech. Well, last year, that team took the state championship in golf. And so
Let's not just
Yeah.
leave it there.
Yes.
Because first time any team from the Detroit public school system has even gone to the state championship.
Absolutely.
This team has only been around for 3 years. Girls golf team went to the state championship. That is so significant. I can't even begin to tell you what a significant accomplishment that is. Okay, go ahead. I'll let you
So-
go now.
So I was reminded of that because it was that determination and the efforts that we were all putting forth to get the team started in our alumni association, helped get in donations for golf
Yes.
equipment, and it was paying for greens fees, all of those expensive things. But that's the kind of hard work that I believe in doing for students. And it's, of course, my alma mater, but those are things that I think all students in the city of Detroit are deserving of. To have the opportunity, you have a talent, you're smart, you're bright. That is what we should be doing, meeting the need of our students.
Absolutely.
So that was one of the biggest accomplishments that we had to date that I feel really exemplifies what you should be doing as a nonprofit, as someone who cares about students.
Absolutely, absolutely. And do know that is an extremely important accomplishment. But they've bought instruments for students. They've sent them on for kids who couldn't go on certain trips. They paid for it. I mean, they've been the backup for a lot of these students and parents so that these kids get the kinds of things they need to succeed and feel good about themselves while they do it.
And to your point with the parents, we've been able to mobilize them. We've done concession programs that have raised money. Another huge group that we work with was Harp and Vocal. That is one of the only existing programs in any public school. They went to Chicago, no, actually New York in 2017. They went to Chicago in 2023. And this past year, they went to New York again. And each time they swept the competitions. And we have just an immense pride in these young people as they go out and not only, I'm going to get on the bandwagon, represent Detroit. Because when you are carrying the weight of what DPS represents and now DPSCD, we want people to know that we have some very exceptional students.
Yes.
And we compete in academics, we compete in athletics, and music and performing arts.
Absolutely.
So,
and business, because our young people, when they go to the business conferences, they show up and they compete. Absolutely. And they are the top.
Well, now see, you got to mention that because you have a winner close to home, your grandson.
Yes.
And he's now down at FAMU doing an awesome job. I mean, those are the things that, as a community partner, as a parent, you want to work with other people that are like-minded.
Yes.
And so everyone has a sense of it's pride in our students.
Yes.
Doing what's necessary. And I got to say, thankfully to you, being such a great mentor, in what you have been able to do in the community and still doing it. We got you volunteering in the PTSA office and, on the school advisory council. So, it doesn't stop, once your child crosses, because you now have grandchildren.
And the grandchildren. Yes, I do. And I'll be there for a long time. I've got another senior coming this year in 2025. I'll have another one coming in 2026.
So we always need individuals who are concerned about education in the city of Detroit to come together and let's empower ourselves to actually put that drive and push behind our students. We're always talking about team sports where, the Lions are doing well, let's put our emphasis on our students. And you can do that next week on November the 5th.
Yes.
By remembering to flip over the back of your ballot, that nonpartisan section. And I am running for Detroit Public Schools Community District. And so I would encourage everyone to remember to vote on November the 5th on the back after you finish the presidential, the, senators, all of that. But our judges are very important.
That's right.
And so is our school district.
As a matter of fact, see, I would say that the school district is probably the most important. Because if we don't get this school right, the rest of it really doesn't matter. We've got to make sure the children get what they need so that they can grow up to replace us. That's what we need. We need to have as they say in sports, we need a bench. We've got to have a bench. We've got to have young people that we know are going to come up and replace us, just as you have and my daughters have, and all the other young people. You guys graduated with my children, so I call you the bench. So you're the bench. Now you've got some kids coming along. They're the next set of benches. And so we've got to make sure that those young people have what they need to replace us, because we're not going to be around forever. We need some replacements. We need, just like in that football game yesterday. Speaking of football, I know we weren't talking about football, but I just have to say this. The Lions showed out. Every time I looked up, they were getting no touchdown. I said, "You go Lions!" And I don't even like football, but I watched yesterday. It was a great game, but that's because they had a great bench. They had a great bench, and they did well. Same holds true for us. We need a great bench in education, in business, in church leadership, community leadership, all of those places. We've got to have folks to replace us, because Lord knows we're not going to be here forever and don't want to do it forever. I've got to tell you, we don't want to be the ones out here. We want to be able to sit back and watch and say, all right, go. We want to be able to sit back and watch everybody succeed. And so look, everybody, back to voting next Tuesday. I know, yeah, tired of me talking about voting, but that's too bad. Get ready because I'll be back next week talking about it again. So, and if you don't do the right thing, and I'm sure you will, let me back up. When you do the right thing next Tuesday, we will celebrate the following week. We're going to celebrate big time because I know you're going to do the right thing. I just know you are. But I want to tell you, it's important that you understand how to vote. There are how many, 20 people running for school board or 28?
Actually, there's 22.
22. How about that?
And
the-
we probably need to do something about that as
how many
well.
seats are there?
There are 3 seats.
There are 3 seats.
But-
22 people, 3 seats. Some of them never probably walked into a PTA meeting in their life.
Well, I'm going to say there's probably 7 or 8 that I've not seen in the past few weeks that we've had forums
Mhm.
and no campaign information.
And I think they just kind of threw their name on the ballot just for the heck of it. Understand that you need to make sure of who you're voting for. So before you mark anything down, know who you're voting for. Know who you are voting for. It is too important. And there's a way to vote for the person that you really want to win. 3 seats, 3 spots. You don't have to vote for all 3 of those spots. You don't have to fill in all 3 of those circles. Fill in the circle for the person you want. Just fill in Monique. How about that?
Absolutely.
And I guess you can fill in one more because I like Sherry Gay Daniago, so you can do her. But the rest of those folks, I don't know who they are.
Well,
So,
I encourage people to look at what the work and when we talk about like performers, the body of work that people have done. A lot of times people say, "Oh, well, you've only done things for Cass." Well, simply because I started in my backyard. I started working over at Frederick Douglass Academy, where my son attended, and later transferred as a senior to Communications Media Arts. So I have been an active parent. I didn't even have kids in school over at Cass. It was just the fact that I thought it was my duty as an alumna to give back. And so that had been really the great experience because of the large school body, 2,500 students. I've got to understand the dynamics of what the population is. And people say, well, Cass is exam school, but those students, and myself included, come from the same neighborhoods that you yourselves live in as a voter. And when we had individual high schools, they were part of your community. And
That's
when
right.
we attended Cass, it was because you wanted to do maybe a little bit more in terms of a career pathway.
Yes.
But make no mistake about it, you could get a great education in every single high school
Any one of them.
that was in Detroit Public Schools. So I not only represent Cass, Frederick Douglass, and Communication Media Arts as a parent and as an alumna, I represent Detroit, period. I'm going to work hard for every student that's in every school, and there's 106 of them. So I've got one I've perfected and held down. So now I'm ready to take my network, my engagement skills, district-wide.
Absolutely. And for those who say you only worked in one school, how many have you worked in? How many have you worked in? Probably none.
Right.
So the fact that you worked in one is a wonderful thing. When I became a school board person, I had only worked in one school, Barton Elementary School. That's where my kids went to school. That's where I worked.
And shout out to Miss Adams, who's the principal over there. That's a school that I've recently become engaged with.
Barton
Yep,
Elementary
yep.
School, where both of my children went to school, my nephew and a whole slew of other folks that went to school to Barton Elementary School. But that was my neighborhood school. That's where my kids went to school, and that's where I put my energies. I would suggest to those of you who say that, why don't you go work at your local school? We would love to have each one of you working at your local school. So how many of you work at a local school? Just working at one would work for me.
Well,
so come on now.
as a member of the school board, that is one of the things that I would be trying to increase. Community engagement. Our community seems to be disengaged. Out on the campaign trail, people say, well, I don't have kids in school.
Doesn't
You know,
matter.
it doesn't matter. You have a neighbor that lives next door that has 3 children that are in need of an education. So pretty much, we've got to re-engage our community. I think a lot of it has had to do with property taxes. Now, once we had that debt issue and we went from DPS to DPSCD, so they don't see themselves as part of the funding. But yes, you are.
And I don't think they understand that you're paying for it.
One way or the other.
You're paying for it one way.
One way or the
You-
other.
You're gonna pay for it. And one of these days we're gonna have a discussion about DPS and DPSCD and why that is and why that should never have been. But I'm not gonna talk about that today. We're gonna talk about that another time now. But I just say that it's just important that you volunteer somewhere in the school system. If you only give one day a month, but volunteer someplace.
Absolutely. And I think too, people need to feel wanted and feel needed. When you kind of are disengaged from what's going on, you figure, well, they don't need me. DPSCD has a severe literacy problem, but we have a program called Let's Read, where volunteers are actually being trained to help assist with increasing our reading skills. And that is a $25 paid stipend. So how, are we missing that opportunity?
That's right.
We have some great retired teachers, librarians. I mean, I should be thinking we should be turning people away
Absolutely.
if we were communicating that need and extending the hand saying, hey, come on in.
Absolutely.
We want you to participate. And
I shouldn't say this, but I'll tell you, I volunteered. Nobody ever called me. But I'm gonna go back.
You aren't you aren't the only one.
And I have suggested to several of my retired friends. I said, go do, and they volunteered also, and nobody has called them. And so I'm going to be talking to some school board members about that, because these are people who have the time, who are retired professionals, who would love to help some kids out in their neighborhood. So we're gonna work on that. That's gonna be my next goal after the election. I'm gonna be working on that.
I'm with you. We're gonna start right. We're gonna start right here. Now that I know Barton is one of your schools, and I have communicated with Miss Adams, who's the principal over there. Let's get some volunteers over there at her Let's Read program. And the major thing about my campaign is the guarantee. I am going to, as a member, if elected, will be visiting all of my schools.
Not when.
Oh, right.
Thank
when.
you very much. When. Thank
because
you very much.
each member has a amount of schools that we don't have districts, but is in their boundaries. You can expect me to be at a school. You can expect me to pop in. You can expect me to make sure that by my second term, which would be 26, 27, that all of my schools would have a PTA or PTSA, that's a parent-teacher organization, along with a school advisory council. Because that's where the decisions really, the vote is important to put members who reflect what you want to see in your school board. And hopefully I have shown you through my work what I have done and what I will do as a board member. But not only that, you don't have to hold me accountable. I'm going to hold myself accountable, because I think every student deserves a high quality education in this city of Detroit. We cannot be a world-class city rebuilding, talking about championships and anything else if our students can't read.
Exactly. Now that's the real issue. They have got to be able to read. But there's no question. That's no discussion. So we've got to do that.
I got to take a page out of someone's book, VP Harris. We can't go back. We can't go back to the time when African Americans and as we now say, black and brown students can't read. When it was put it in a book, they'll never read it. We've got to put school books back in the classroom. We need libraries back in our schools. with librarians. And that is how we're going to have students read. Not this literacy where we tutor a year or two. And no, they need vocabulary building. If I hear bro 5 times in a conversation, that's replaced, you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Or like. So.
And it's so interesting because they on these computer things, they don't even have to write the whole word out.
AI?
Yeah, they don't have to. They don't. So which means they don't know how to spell. They can't spell anymore.
Well,
and the other thing that has really gotten me is that we don't teach cursive anymore. I hope that's coming back because I don't care what you say. You have to sign your name. Now you're going to have to sign your name somewhere, sometime. You want to buy that car that all these young people want? You got to sign your name to buy that car.
I will agree. And I'm sure you have 3 grandchildren that are my children's age and driving.
Yes,
so
Lord.
You have to teach them.
That's a whole other story.
You have to teach them how to sign their name. But as I've been meeting community members, they want to see drivers training back in school. They want to see cursive writing back in school. They want to see the common knowledge classes put back in.
Yeah.
I mean, kids now don't know how to cook. We're door dashing.
Oh, yes.
In terms of measurements, there's no shop class.
Yes.
There's no class where students learn how to sew. A button falls off shirt and the shirt is ruined.
And you just throw the shirt away.
Right.
What kind of foolishness is that?
No. So, these are things that voters want to see. And it doesn't start at the school board here in the city of Detroit. We have the Michigan Education School Board. That is where our Common Core classes, that's the legislation that needs to be happening.
Yes.
But if we are not connected to the PTA, which is a national organization that engages the federal and state and local.
Yes.
But see, people will tell you, oh, it's just a membership. No,
it is not.
Everything is about policy. And when we talk about policy, it starts right in the school.
Yes.
Having an effect on policy. And Ms. Bell, I'm telling you, we see it now. We're working together on a council, just trying to get things together for students for graduation.
Yes.
But your voice matters. And that is what my campaign has been about, empowering the voices of everyone concerned about education. And that is you as a voter. So it's so critical that when you finish the front of your ballot, because proposal 2025, they want to get rid of public education. So people are already thinking about getting rid of it. But what are we going to replace it with?
Nothing. That's the part that's frightening.
Right.
They want to eliminate the Department of Education completely.
And the reason why they can do that is because we as parents and community are engaged.
That's right. And not only when they eliminate the Department of Education, what they really want to do is take your tax dollars into private schools and pay for high-scale private education with your money. Something's wrong with that. Something's wrong with that. So you need to really understand what Project 2025 does. But that, to me, is the major thing it does, is to eliminate the Department of Education and allow them to put anybody they want over education. They won't call it the Department of Education anymore.
Right.
But it will let them give away your tax dollars to anybody who wants to have a school. Anybody. Not public school, because all of your kids can't go there.
No.
But any old body. So please read Project 2025 and make sure that those people who are supporting that don't ever get elected to anything.
And make sure
anywhere.
that the board members that represent you are on the stage talking about what you want to be talked about.
Yes.
That's critical.
Yes.
So I'm giving constituents a voice on the stage. Make no mistake about it. I am DPSCD strong. I put the community, or I will be bringing the community to the district.
Yes, yes. And understand, Monique Bryan is not replacing anybody on the
No.
school board. So don't think she's going to be taking some of your people out. Not true. There are 2 school board members who are not running, who are currently on the board, who have decided not to run. And so those 2 spots are simply vacant. She's taking one of those vacant spots. So Miss Stallworth and is not running, and
Miss Mays.
Sonia Mays is not running. So there'll be 2 vacant spots. So we're just going to put her in one of those vacant spots.
Well, I'd love to be a seat filler.
All right.
A seat filler with her sleeves rolled
There
up.
you go. Right. And the other part about this is that Monique doesn't need the kind of extracurricular training that a whole lot of them will need if they become a member of that board. Because you need somebody who knows something about schools, who knows something about administration, who knows something about management, who knows something about what goes on in a school building. You don't need anybody who's never been in one or who's never talked to community people.
Or says I'm a parent, but never have been
in a school
at a
not-
parent
or
meeting
not
and
even a
advocating.
parent.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
understand who you're putting on the school board. Please understand that it's important for you to know the people that you're putting on. Just because they talk a good game, you need to go read about their game. Talking a good game is not going to get it. So I need you to read about what these people have done.
If you can find something.
If you can find something. Now, some of them have not written anything, have not said anything. They just threw their name on the ballot. That's all they did. So understand, and some of those who have thrown their name on the ballot, who have written something or have said something, you might want to check out what they've said and what they've written to see, first of all, is it true? And secondly, how successful have they been in helping the community they say they want to help? Have they been to a school board meeting? Have they been to a community organization meeting? Have they been to a PTSA meeting? Have they set foot inside a school? It's important. It is so important. So you need to consider those things as you look at what we're going to do in the next election. And you need to look at it for school board, but you need to look at that for our offices that are being elected for national level. The president, the vice president, state representatives, congressional representatives, state senators, U.S. senators. You know, we've got 1 U.S. Senate vacancy, and we've got 2 people running. One of them doesn't live here. Once he saw the seat was going to be open, he decided that he was going to hurry up back to Michigan because he lives in Florida, has a lovely home in Florida, a couple of yachts, but left Michigan several years ago. And when he heard there was going to be a seat available, hurried up and came back and decided he was going to run for that Senate seat. That probably is not the person you want to be your senator. That is probably not the person you want. And mark my word, when he loses, he's going to go right back to Florida. And that house that they say he's building will be sold. So look at who you're running, who's running in those races. Look at what they say and look at what they do, because those 2 things don't necessarily coincide. I'm just saying, everybody. I'm just saying.
The truth is the truth.
You know, saying.
And we talk about funding, and those people that you just mentioned are going to be advocating to bring funds to our area and to our school district.
Mhm.
And we know, I guess you could say, we need money for infrastructure.
Oh, boy.
You know,
Do
new
we
buildings. You
Do
know,
we ever.
we did get, COVID money where we're getting 5 new schools, but that's not the driving force. I mean, we need schools actually back in the neighborhoods where
Mhm.
kids can walk to school, where kids grow up and know one another.
Yes.
It's been a burden for transportation. We talk about absenteeism.
Mhm. And
It's
that's
hard to
the
be.
other issue. Absenteeism. Oh my goodness. Um, if if they don't come to school, they can't learn to read, write, and compute. They just can't. And if they live over by 7 Mile and Ryan Road, and the school is over at Wyoming and Chicago, how are they gonna get there? And then the mother has transportation issues. The kid can't ride the I was going to call it DSR. But
DOT.
I can't, it isn't DSR anymore. It's DOT. The kid can't ride by himself. So that kid isn't coming to school that day because the mother's car didn't work. Can't walk from 7 Mile and Ryan over to Chicago and Wyoming. So we need to make sure that these babies can go to school someplace they can walk to. It's I mean, it's the little things that are important. They've got to come to school every day. Now, parents, if you're not sending the baby to school, you have an issue. And for me, I'm an advocate of holding the parent responsible because they are responsible.
I agree.
And if we don't hold them responsible, then they're going to say, oh, it doesn't matter. They don't care if I send them to school or not. So I'm just going to send them every now and then. Baby will never get to learn anything. So parents, you're going to have some repercussions for not sending that baby to school. Maybe one of those is you may spend a night in jail because you didn't send the baby to school. Or you may have to pay a huge fine that you probably can't afford because you didn't send the baby to school. But there has to be some kind of repercussions if they don't send the baby to school. It doesn't compute that you have these babies and they're not going to school and not learning. That's not acceptable.
I would totally agree about the accountability. I mean, we have some very common sense ways to encourage parents to send their kids to school.
Mm-hmm.
That's the other piece of the funding. We have Title I funds that allow parents, maybe we should be looking at, instead of painting parties, to have real parenting classes where volunteers are showing parents what they should be doing. You have a 2 or 3 year old who is climbing in a car by themselves, following a parent behind a parent, or walking in front of it. We've got to do the basic parenting skills.
Yes.
Basic.
Yes.
We're now promoting pre-K.
Yes.
4-year-olds. Perhaps we should be having some dual enrollment with parent and child.
Yes.
So that you get the foundations.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the first 2 weeks of school, the parent is coming to class, helping the student learn how to eat properly, how to hang their clothes up in the cubby. I mean, these are very basic things if we focus on that, by the time this student is ready for 3rd grade, it's like clockwork. They can get themselves up. If the school is across the street, they can now, navigate across the street. We can't continue to be a crutch and run on a problem.
Yes, can't do that.
Problems have to be fixed. You need someone like myself who has common sense and who actually is in the school, talks to parents. And not every parent is a slubbering parent. They just need mentorship and direction.
That's right.
But if you continue on the path of allowing them to skirt their responsibility, we're going to keep getting what we're getting.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that takes a community effort, because we need mentorship.
Absolutely.
We need individuals to stand in the gap as mom, grandma, dad,
all of that,
grandfather. And we need to lay off our teachers.
I'm telling you,
they get the brunt of everything.
They do. And I can't even imagine being in a classroom these days. I really can't. I can't imagine what these teachers have to deal with, first of all, children not coming to school. And when they do come to school, many of them are late. And when they get there, some of them haven't a clue as to what they're supposed to do. And they get there, and poor babies have not had the proper hygiene. So the teacher's got to try to deal with that. And then the baby has not had the proper training as to how to respect the teacher and the other children
Mhm.
in the classroom. And so then the parent is going to come in as disrespectful as the child. I mean, these teachers have so much to deal with. It's simply amazing. The fact that we've still got teachers coming every day is amazing, because I can't imagine how they do it. But on that same tip, we got to grow some more teachers, because people are not going into the teaching profession for those very reasons, because we don't pay them enough. They don't get the kind of respect they need. They don't get the kind of support they need. And we've got to do all of that. Pay them, give them the respect, and get them the support. It's got to happen.
I totally agree. And I say that because I work with parents and I work with teachers.
Yes.
And when Mrs. Bill, when you say babies, some of these babies are 14.
I know.
So
I know.
these are things
I
that
know.
again,
And they can't read, and they act out
Right.
because they can't read. And
It-
that's the problem.
if you start early,
Mhm.
we can change the trajectory of the
Oh.
student population.
All of that.
But our teachers, we need to maintain our seasoned teachers, because a lot of veteran teachers don't have the experience coming right in to navigate these
They
situations.
just don't have it. I
Right.
ran into a woman who's a teacher that my grandkids went to when they were in kindergarten. And I happened to have been at the historical museum, and she had them there taking them on a tour. And I saw her. I said, "Oh, how are you?" And she said, "I'm good. I'm Miss Bethel. So good to see you." And I said, "Oh, how's everything going?" She said, "Well, you know what? I'm thinking about retiring, because these children are different than the children were when your grandchildren were here. These children are very, very different,
Mhm.
and the parents are very, very different. I don't know how much longer I can take this." And she was an excellent teacher, and that's sad. That is very, very sad to hear that. I remember when one of my daughters started kindergarten. I'm first day of school. I'm taking her into class. It's kindergarten. I'm sitting in a little bitty seat, where your knees are hitting the table. And I'm sitting there, and she finally looked at me and she said, "Well, aren't you going to work today, Mother?" I thought, she told me that basically, get out of here. Is what she said to me. I was heartbroken. I thought, wait a minute, she's not crying. I'm going crying. She's looking at me like, "Aren't you going to work?" I'm good, Ma. Go on.
Right.
I was so outdone. I thought, well, I'll be darned. I guess okay. I guess I'll
Well-
see you later. But I was too outdone when she dismissed me in
But-
kindergarten.
I love those stories, because you want teachers to stick around.
Yeah.
Some of my favorite teachers, I've been out of school quite a while,
Mhm.
but they're still very involved.
Yes, they are.
I mean,
They are.
some, they don't live in the city of Detroit,
Unfortunately.
but they say, if I could vote for you, I would. They
Mhm.
support everything that I do. And they are mentors. You
Yes.
never outgrow education. Never.
Absolutely.
Never.
Absolutely.
So those retired teachers, I mean, a lot of them, I felt like they just were pushed out,
Mhm.
especially with COVID,
Yeah.
because of the age.
Yes.
But we need them back here in the district.
to be mentors for some of these younger teachers who are coming out
Absolutely.
of college, who really haven't gotten it yet.
Right, I can't imagine
can you
being
imagine coming
fresh out of
college?
college, no kids, because parenting doesn't come with
No, it
with a
doesn't.
handbook.
No.
So now you have 30 kids,
Poor babies.
four,
Four times. Oh, well.
pre-K, all pulling on your
all of
leg.
that.
Yeah, so
It's amazing. So
Yeah.
we've got to work on our education, support for our education system. And how do we do that, everybody? By going to the polls. Next
Absolutely.
Tuesday, November 5th, all day long from 8 to 7. Go vote. Go vote. Go vote. And I'll see you next Monday, and I'll be saying the same thing. Go vote. Go vote. Go vote. It's the right thing to do. It's the responsible thing to do. It's the grown-up thing to do. So go do it. Have a great week. We'll see you next Monday. This has been the Community Bell Show. We're so glad to have had Monique Bryant on our show today.
Thank
We
you.
talked
It's a
about
pleasure
education.
being here.
We're gonna continue to talk about this. It's too important not to talk about. Have a great week.
Hello, I'm excited to remind you that Tuesday, November 5th is Election Day. And whether you vote by absentee ballot, at one of our early vote centers, or on Election Day, there are 3 easy ways to vote the partisan section of your ballot. 1, vote straight party ticket by filling in the oval next to the party of your choice. And that's it. 2, you can vote a split ticket by voting for the party of your choice and then selecting candidates in various offices from different political parties. Or 3, vote a mixed ticket by voting for candidates in different political parties across the ballot. Once you've completed the partisan section, make sure you vote the nonpartisan section of the ballot. And finally, if you vote by absentee, please return your ballot as soon as possible. Doing so helps us to process and report results in a timely manner. And remember to vote, because it's not only your right, it's the right thing to do.
Because I live in Detroit, I was able to get tuition-free college through the Detroit Promise. I feel very fortunate working with the Detroit Promise. They were able to afford me so many opportunities. I'm currently studying media production and journalism at University of Michigan Dearborn. I'm looking to take my talents further into the production industry, short films. I love working with people here, and this is where I want to be. And that's why I'm Detroit for life.
You're listening to WVTC Gospel Radio Detroit, and we're flowing in the Spirit.